Hello and welcome to Faithfully Stampin' with Jennifer Helm. I am Jennifer Helm, an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up, and I call myself the Faithful Stamper. Today I am going to show you how to make a double slider gift card holder. This is a gift card holder that might look kind of ordinary, but it has a little bit of magic, because when you pull the little bow, your interior pieces slide to the top and bottom. And you'll never believe what the magic is that makes that happen. And this isn't as complicated as you might think. So watch along with me and I'll teach you how to make it. The first thing you're going to need is a piece of cardstock that is 5.5 by 11 inches. So you'll need a scoring tool, either a score board or your paper trimmer scorer. And on the 11-inch side, the longer side of your cardstock, you're going to need to score it at 3.5, 7, and 10.5. And that is all the cutting and scoring that you need to do to create this gift card holder. So that's not too hard, right? So the next step is to go ahead and fold your score lines. I like to take my bone folder and burnish them, just give it some nice crisp creases, but you can definitely use your fingers, you don't have to have a bone folder. And then the first thing that I do before I do anything else is I'm going to take a 1-inch circle punch and cut a little notch in the top of this third panel. So your last panel is your skinny one, the 1/2-inch one. But this third panel here, you want to take a punch. You can go a little bigger than 1 inch. I wouldn't go too much smaller. And you can either directly measure it or eyeball it. And I like to put about half the punch in and then pop it out. You're giving yourself just a little bit of a thumb hole. And this will make it easier once we start assembling things. And I'll tell you more about that when we get to it. So now I'm going to show you how the magic works, and you'll never guess what creates the magic. It is a plain and simple plastic grocery bag. So what you'll need is a plastic grocery bag. If you don't have something like this, you can use a Ziploc bag or even a clear cellophane envelope. And all you need to do is cut about a 1-inch strip. So I started at one seam on the side and just worked my way across. And this doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to measure it with a ruler or anything, but you're looking for about 1 inch wide, maybe a little wider, not too narrow. This is probably a little wider. And then I'm just going to trim it at the top. And then take my piece here. And this is what makes the magic. So what I'm going to do is lay it down on my craft table and then lay this first panel of cardstock down on top. And then I'm going to fold the plastic strip over. I'm going to trim a little bit off. You want a little bit of overlap, not a ton, and I want to get rid of this kind of messy end here. So I'm going to trim that straight across, or as straight as I can, and get rid of that. And so I like to pull the strip up so the overlap is a little bit closer to the top. It doesn't really matter, but you want it pulled tight but not too tight. Don't bend the cardstock, but you want it tight because it may loosen up a little bit once you start assembling the card, and you definitely don't want to lose the tension that this creates. So pull it a little bit snug, make sure it's laying flat. And then I'm going to take some ordinary Scotch tape and just cover my seam. I'm going to use 2 pieces up and down. And just make sure it's on the plastic bag. Don't let it touch the cardstock, because that's going to keep this from moving. And then give that a good press down. And next you'll need some tear-in tape or double-sided tape. And again, you want to make sure this stays on the plastic bag. So take a piece that's about as wide as your plastic bag strip, and here, just above your overlap, put the tear and tape at the top. So towards the top, don't put it real close to the top. Half an inch or a little bit lower. And I recommend pressing your tape down really good and then doing it again, because the trickiest part of this whole thing was trying to peel the tear and tape backing off and not taking the whole thing off the plastic bag. Because normally you're putting tear and tape on cardstock and it sticks just fine. The plastic bag wants to let go of that tape just a little bit. So now you will have 2 panels of white cardstock. This is 3 1/4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. It's just a smidge smaller than the panels for your gift card holder. So go ahead and peel off your tear and tape backing. See how easy that came off because I gave it a good press. And now just center your panel right there. And now what you're going to do is flip the whole thing over, and you're going to repeat those last steps, except put your tear and tape at the bottom on this side. And this is what creates the magic and the movement. I never would have thought something so simple could work and create the mechanism for this card. Now, I've got a little bit of tape that wants to hang out here on the side. I definitely want to get that off my cardstock. All right, so I have a second panel of the Whisper White, and I'm just going to repeat and center that. And now there's one more step to the tear and tape. So I'm going to turn the whole thing back over, and I want to put tear and tape on this last thin panel, the 1/2 inch panel. And you want to fold it up or fold it in before you put your tear and tape on it. I like to flip mine over. It's just a little easier than trying to keep everything laying flat when there's so many folds. So your tear and tape will go on that top edge. And I like to give that a nice press as well. And what we're going to do, when we fold this gift card holder up, and once we peel this off, I'm going to show you before I do the tape, just so you can get a really good look at what I'm doing. When we fold this flap in and over, we're going to want to position it between the pink of the cardstock, or the cardstock base, whatever color you have, and the white panel. So remember, this is just attached a little bit here with that tear and tape. And so we're just going to tuck it in and then press it flat. It's a little hard to show on camera. And that's why I wanted to show you before I took the backing off my tape. But again, I'm just going to lift that Whisper White panel up a little with my fingers and fold that panel in and then give it a good press. And the reason I had you put the little thumb hole here, the notch in, before we assembled that all, is it's really tricky to try to reach this Whisper White without that thumb hole panel. But once you've got that thumb hole panel in, I think that tape is making it stick. There we go. Or not. Oh. Yep. I've got just enough of that tape sticking. That is preventing this from popping out the other side. Come on. There we go. See, it just needed a little coaxing. I promise it's not that difficult. It was just that little piece of tape I had hanging over the edge. But see, now that plastic bag strip allows the movement. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to reinforce this piece here at the top, give myself a little more of a handle. So I have some Garden Green cardstock, and I'm going to take that same 1-inch punch that I used and just punch another half circle. And I'm going to glue it at the top, and I like to shimmy my cardstock down a little bit so that I can see where to place this little half circle. And this just gives you more of an anchor when you are pulling that gift card slider in and out. And so I like to line it up. I can really see where I need that notch to be. And so I just line that up and press it down. And then I want to attach my bow here. And you have two options with this gift card holder. You can punch a single hole and tie a knot and just tie that off and trim the ends. Or my favorite and preferred method is to use a bow. I happen to like the way this looks a little bit better. And so I'm going to show you how to do that. So I'm going to take a 1/8 of an inch circle punch. It's a tiny little punch. And just punch not too close to the edge, but not too far down, and not too close to the center either, because I'm going to feed ribbon through this. This is how I'm going to create my bow. You do have to press a little bit because you're punching through 2 layers of cardstock. So I've got my little holes there, and I have some ribbon. This is some sheer real red ribbon. And so I'm just going to take the ribbon and thread it through one side and then come back through to the front, and then I just pull a small length of ribbon through and trim, and then I'm going to create a bow. And this is probably one of the easier bows I'll tie because it's really anchored through these tiny holes, so it's kind of nice. Your ribbon isn't slipping and sliding everywhere. So I can tie it a nice little knot, not too tight, but not too loose. And I am not the world's best bow tire, as you can tell, and I'm flustered because my cardstock wants to stick. But there we go. You can fool and fuss with your bow. I recommend not too large, but not too small either. And then once you've got it tied and you're happy with it, go ahead and trim the edges of your ribbon at an angle. And then this is a lot easier to work with, especially when it wants to slide the way it's supposed to, and gives you just something to hold on to. So now I'm going to stamp the insides of my gift card holder. So I like to extend it out as much as I can, obviously not pulling it all the way out, but you'll kind of feel when it's ready to stop. And I'm going to use some photopolymer stamps. So I need my Stamp and Pierce mat, a little foam to create a cushion to get a good impression. So I have some Garden Green ink, and I forgot to mention the stamp set that I am using today is the Sweet Strawberry stamp set that is in our new January to June catalog. If you need a copy, please feel free to visit me at thefaithfulstamper.stampinup.net, or you can find me on Facebook at The Faithful Stamper, and I'd be happy to send you a catalog if you don't already have a demonstrator you're working with. So Garden Green ink, and can you see I got a little heavy-handed with my stamp in there. So I'm going to clear that off. I have my Stampin' Chamois. It's best not to have too much ink around, especially on your blocks, because it'll end up everywhere. On your fingers, on your project. That would have ended up on my bow for sure. And I'm doing it again, but we're rolling with it. So I'm just going to hold my bow out of the way for a minute. And there we go. I've got my greeting. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of an accent. So I have some Poppy Parade ink, and I'm going to just stamp 2 of these little blooms. This is the outline stamp, and then I'm going to move down to the bottom and add just a few here on the bottom. And on this bottom panel, this is where my gift card is going to go. So I'll show you that in a minute. And now I'm going to come back with some Blushing Bride ink. This is a lighter color. And I'm going to use the matching fill-in stamp that adds just a little bit of color. I probably ought to re-ink this ink pad. You might not even be able to tell I'm adding any color at all. but I am. And I'm just stamping right over top, and because I have a clear block and a clear stamp, I can see exactly where I need to line it up. And there, you might be able to see that better. So there's the inside of my gift card holder all ready to go. And when you're ready to put your gift card holder or your gift card inside, this is the same size as a gift card holder. I didn't have any gift cards handy. So this is a Kohl's coupon, but it works the same. So you can just either use glue dots, or if your gift card has a little bit of the sticky, like if you have to peel it off a backing, it works perfectly for sticking it right here and then just close that gift card holder up. So now all we need to do is decorate the outside. So what I have are 2 pieces of designer series paper. This is 3 3/8 of an inch wide by 2 1/4 inches tall. And you can really decorate your gift card holder however you like. You can use one solid piece of DSP, you can use die cuts, any number of possibilities. But I chose 2 different pieces. And so I'm going to take some Stampin' Seal Plus and just add a little bit to my designer series paper. And I'm just going to leave a little bit of a border around the edges. You can obviously leave more of a border if you like. Totally up to you and the look that you're going for. And then for these, I'm going to butt them up right against each other. And then I have a strip of cardstock. This is Poppy Parade to pull it all together and cover up my little seam, even though that looks perfectly lovely. Nice and straight for a change for me. This is 3/4 of an inch by 3 3/8 of an inch. And so I'm just going to add a little more Stampin' Seal. A little crooked there. And then cover up my seam. And now I just want a couple more little accents. I'm not going too heavy with the decorating and the stamping. So I have fussy cut a strawberry from some matching designer series paper. And then I have one more little piece of stamping to do. So I have my garden green ink and a little sentiment that says "Just for You." And I want to die cut this. So I have the smallest stitched circle from our stitched shape set. This is one of my favorites. And I'm going to show you really quickly how our die cutting machine works. I just got our new mini Stampin' Emboss machine. We have 2 sizes. This is the mini, or the baby as we call it, and the larger size we call the boss. But they are the same machine, just in different sizes. This one has a smaller footprint, but they both work the same. They both have platforms that open up and then fold up for storage. So I really like, because these are self-explanatory, they come with a quick start guide, and they come with all the panels that you need to create your sandwich for die cutting. And they're numbered. I think this is fantastic. It's one of my favorite features. So they're all numbered. So this one is your main plate that you'll put down first. But they're all numbered at the top corners. And they all, with the exception of the clear plates, have directions right on them. So these are for embossing folders. But for die cutting, you'll take the number 1, and it shows you the picture right here, what you need to do. Take a clear plate, and I have one that I use for the top and one that I use for the bottom. You can see I've only run this through the machine 1 time. It's got my little, it does leave an imprint, but that's okay. So I'm going to create my sandwich here. I'm going to take my cardstock with my stamp, and I'm going to take my die and put it cutting side down. So the smooth side will be up and the cutting side down. And then I'm going to put my second plate right over top, and then this whole thing gets put into the machine. And you can crank it either direction, whichever way you feed it in. So put a hand on the top and just crank, It might make a creak or a crack, and that's okay, especially with a new machine, or if you've got a square die, you'll want to offset it just a little bit because it'll be harder to crank through the machine. But now, you'll see I have a second imprint now, and like I said, that's okay. You can use this again and again, and when you get to wear it out, you can order a new set of replacement platforms. And now, I have my die cut. So I'm just going to pull my gift card holder back over with some dimensionals, and I'm going to add these to the backs. And then peel the backing off and attach these, and then my gift card holder is ready to go. So hopefully you stuck with me even though I had that little snafu with my assembly. So there's my sentiment, here's my little accent, and there is my gift card holder. So, just to show you again with one that works a little bit better, this is how the mechanism works in that gift card holder. So it really might seem complicated, but it isn't. And I have just a couple other samples to show you different ways to decorate. Again, here is the vertical orientation. This one is obviously a holiday gift card holder with a different size label on the front. This is one of our nested labels, and the punched out Christmas tree, which I popped with dimensionals. So you can make these as simple or as complex as you want as far as your decorating goes. Totally up to you. And I kept this one simple and just did Merry Christmas on the inside. And this one is my favorite, and you're not tied to that vertical orientation. You can flip it and use the horizontal orientation. The only thing to keep in mind is your stamping when you are stamping the insides on the Whisper White panels. So this is my favorite. It features our designer series paper from our Ice Cream Corner suite, and one of my favorite stamp sets, the Hey Birthday Chick. And this one, when you pull it sideways, the little chicks pop out. So I think I'm going to have to keep this one for myself. I love it. So there you have your double slider gift card holder. I hope you enjoyed making that. If you are interested in more crafting videos, I hope you'll subscribe to this channel, Faithfully Stampin' with Jennifer Helm, and you can go back and watch other videos. And also visit me on Facebook at The Faithful Stamper, and you can see different projects and videos there as well. Thank you so much for crafting along with me. Happy crafting.